Just confirmed at Newcastle. Shocking developments have just shaken St. James Park, and fans can hardly believe what's unfolding behind the scenes. For massive updates are now confirmed, some bringing excitement, others leaving supporters absolutely stunned. From transfer battles with giants of Europe to Eddie Howe's ruthless dressing room response, this is one of the most dramatic moments of the season so far for Newcastle United. In today's breaking roundup, we'll cover the intense transfer race that could shape the Magpies' future, a long-awaited January move finally set to happen, a major signing from one of England's top academies, and Howe's no-nonsense reaction after a costly defeat. Stay tuned till the very end, and if you love the Toon as much as we do, make sure you hit subscribe right now so you never miss another breaking Newcastle update. Endrick has become one of the most talked-about young players in world football once again. The 19-year-old Brazilian joined Real Madrid full of promise, but his journey in Spain hasn't been as smooth as many expected. After limited playing time under Carlo Ancelotti, the club are now open to sending him out on loan this January. That has caught the attention of several Premier League sides, including Manchester United and Newcastle United. But while others rush in, Eddie Howe is taking a different approach, one that could prove far wiser in the long run. Real Madrid had high hopes when they brought Endrick in last summer. He arrived with a reputation for flair, speed, and that Brazilian spark that fans love. Yet, as with many young players coming straight from South America, the adaptation to Europe has been tricky. The pace, the physicality, the tactics, all demand time. Madrid are unwilling to risk his confidence sitting on the bench, and a loan could be the best solution. Still, the question for Newcastle is simple. Should they gamble on him now or focus on more experienced targets? Eddie Howe has been clear in his vision for Newcastle's rebuild. Every signing must bring balance and maturity to the squad. The sale of Alexander Isak to Liverpool has created a major gap up front, but the manager knows that short-term panic moves rarely work out. Newcastle need an attacker who can handle Premier League intensity from day one. Endrick, for all his natural talent, is still learning the rhythm of European football. Throwing him into the deep end could harm both the team and the player's development. Reports from Daily Briefing suggest that 8 clubs have already contacted Real Madrid about Endrick. Manchester United appear determined, offering the player a clear path into their attack. Yet inside St. James Park, the tone is calmer. Newcastle scouts admire Endrick's skill and potential, but there's an understanding that the club must stay patient. Eddie Howe has built his success on consistency and planning, not hype. A short-term loan for a 19-year-old still finding his feet might not fit the bigger picture. The Premier League is not a playground for experiments, and Howe knows that better than anyone. Every game carries weight, every mistake can cost points. Newcastle are already walking a fine line in their pursuit of top-4 football. Signing a youngster who still needs adaptation time could disrupt the team's stability. The club's recent recruitment model, smart, calculated, and value-driven, has helped them grow sustainably. Players like Bruno Guimaraes and Sven Botman were signed because they combined youth with readiness. Endrick doesn't yet tick both boxes. There's also the financial reality to consider. Real Madrid wouldn't loan Endrick without expecting a significant fee and wage contribution. With Newcastle still keeping one eye on PSR regulations, such an investment must make sense on all fronts. After selling Isak, there's some room to maneuver, but not enough to make reckless moves. Howe's focus remains on players who will immediately strengthen the starting 11, not just add buzz to social media headlines. Sensible football, not show business. That's the message inside the club right now. It's easy to understand why Endrick excites fans. He's fast, creative, and unpredictable. Exactly the kind of forward who lights up games. However, Newcastle's current situation demands reliability. Competing in the Champions League and Premier League simultaneously is a brutal schedule. The team can't rely on a player who still needs months to adjust to English football. Instead, they need someone proven, someone who can deliver goals and link play straight away. That's why Howe's patience isn't hesitation, it's strategy. Newcastle scouts have been busy identifying forwards who fit that profile, strong, clinical, and experienced. There's talk of interest in players from France and Germany who could arrive ready to compete. That's not to say the club have completely ruled out Endrick. They continue to monitor his progress and remain open to future discussions. If circumstances change, if Madrid lower their demands or the player himself pushes for Premier League football, Newcastle could re-enter the race. For now, though, caution rules the day. What fans appreciate most about Eddie Howe is that he never lets excitement override reason. Since his arrival, every major decision has been calculated. Whether it was turning around Miguel Almiron's form or giving youth players like Lewis Miley chances at the right time, Howe has shown he values timing above all. The same principle applies here. Endrick might become a superstar one day, but Newcastle's rise is about more than chasing headlines. It's about building a team capable of staying at the top for years, not just seasons. So, while Manchester United and others rush into the bidding war, Newcastle will sit back and watch. Sometimes the smartest move is the one you don't make. The Magpies have come too far to let excitement dictate their next steps. Endrick's future may lie in the Premier League eventually, and who knows, perhaps one day he will shine in black and white. But for now, Eddie Howe's discipline could be what keeps Newcastle firmly on the path to long-term success. For the first time since taking charge of Newcastle United, Eddie Howe is preparing for a January transfer window with genuine spending power. In the past, tight financial rules under PSR regulations left him unable to make major moves, but the sale of Alexander Isak to Liverpool has changed everything. That transfer, although painful for fans, has opened doors that were previously closed. Now, Howe and his recruitment team are drawing up detailed plans to strengthen key areas in the squad. The Magpies could finally act like a top-4 club again when the window opens. Newcastle's activity in previous January markets has been cautious, even frustrating at times. The last meaningful mid-season additions came back in 2023, when Anthony Gordon and Harrison Ashby arrived. Since then, Howe has been forced to rely on the same core of players, many of whom have endured heavy workloads. Injuries, fatigue and fixture congestion have taken a toll. Supporters have watched other clubs refresh their squads mid-season while Newcastle stood still. That situation now looks set to change, and the manager intends to make full use of the opportunity. According to Sky Sports' Keith Downey, Newcastle are expected to be one of the busiest Premier League sides this winter. The club have money to spend, and their recruitment department have already begun shortlisting players. Howe wants at least 3 additions: a centre-forward, a creative winger and a central midfielder. These positions have all been identified as weaknesses since the summer. With Isak gone and Yoane Wissa injured, depth in attack is thin. The team's recent performances show exactly why reinforcements are essential. Inside St. James Park, there's a sense of renewed optimism. For months, Howe has had to answer questions about PSR and the club's limited financial flexibility. But after restructuring contracts and completing the Isak deal, Newcastle are finally in a position to move freely. It's not about reckless spending, though. Howe remains a man of structure. Every player signed must fit his tactical system and his dressing room culture. He values character and professionalism as much as technical ability. That approach has shaped Newcastle's transformation since 2021. One of the names being discussed is a versatile striker capable of rotating with Nick Woltemade. The German forward has been one of the bright spots of the season so far, showing work rate, intelligence and strength, but he can't do it all alone. With Champions League fixtures still to come, Howe needs fresh energy up front. Another issue is creativity from wide areas. Anthony Gordon has been excellent, yet injuries to Harvey Barnes and Yoane Wissa have left the team short of options. A new winger with pace and vision could make all the difference. Downey also mentioned a fascinating subplot. Newcastle are believed to be close to signing a young English prospect ahead of the window. The player's name has not been publicly confirmed, but insiders describe him as one of the brightest defensive talents in the country. The deal is expected to cost around £350,000, with add-ons, and could be completed before January even starts. It's a reminder that the club's recruitment strategy is twofold: invest in youth for the future while strengthening the senior squad for immediate goals. Howe supports that balance fully. What stands out about Howe's leadership is his patience and precision. He doesn't panic under pressure or chase headlines. When Newcastle were promoted to the Champions League, he refused to make impulsive signings. Instead, he built cohesion among players already at the club. That same discipline will guide him through this window. However, the difference now is that he finally has the resources to act when the right target appears. He knows this could be a defining period in the club's season, possibly the moment they turn promise into consistency. Of course, January is a complicated market. Prices are inflated, and selling clubs hold all the power. But Newcastle's reputation has improved enormously under Howe's watch. They're no longer seen as outsiders, they're seen as contenders. Players across Europe now view St. James Park as an exciting destination, not a stepping stone. Agents are approaching Newcastle rather than waiting for calls. That shift in perception will help them attract quality even in a tough winter window. The groundwork of the past 2 years is finally paying off. For the players already in the dressing room, January reinforcements will also send a powerful message. It tells them that the ownership and management believe in the project and want to back it with action. It lifts morale, increases competition, and raises standards. When new signings arrive, every player has to fight for his place again. That intensity has been missing recently, as fatigue and injuries made selection predictable. Howe knows that internal competition is the secret ingredient of sustained success. So, as the new year approaches, Newcastle supporters can expect real movement. This time, the club have both ambition and means to deliver. Howe will aim to secure players who can contribute immediately and help push for European qualification again. The manager deserves this opportunity after working within limits for so long. With smart recruitment, January could mark the beginning of a stronger, sharper Newcastle United, one ready to face the toughest months of the season head-on and come out even more united. Josh Kenchington may only be 15, but his name is already making waves across English football. The highly rated Barnsley defender has officially joined Newcastle United in a deal worth £350,000 plus performance bonuses. On paper, it might look like a quiet piece of business, but in reality, this could become one of the smartest signings the club has made in years. Described by scouts as the next John Stones, Kenchington has impressed everyone who's watched him play, and Newcastle have beaten some huge clubs to his signature. Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur and Brighton were all in the race for the teenager, but Newcastle's persistence made the difference. The club first approached Barnsley with an offer of £275,000, which was rejected, but they didn't give up. After another round of talks, Newcastle returned with a stronger proposal, showing real intent. That second bid convinced Barnsley to agree, and Kenchington was finally secured. It was a classic example of how Newcastle's new recruitment structure operates: patient, strategic, and determined to get the right talent. What makes this move even more impressive is Kenchington's development level for his age. At just 15, he's already been playing regularly for Barnsley's under-18s, competing against players 3 or 4 years older. Standing over 6 feet tall, he's strong in the air, composed on the ball, and naturally comfortable using both feet. In modern football, that combination is gold. Newcastle's academy staff believe he has everything needed to become a first-team player within a few seasons if he continues to grow physically and mentally. The club's decision to invest heavily in a defender of his age shows real ambition. Many sides would hesitate before spending such money on a teenager, but Newcastle's approach has changed. They now see youth recruitment as a vital part of long-term success. Rather than chasing overpriced stars every summer, the Magpies are creating a pathway from the academy to the first team. If Kenchington's progress continues, he could follow the footsteps of Lewis Miley, another example of how trusting young English talent at the right moment. Newcastle's new academy project has become one of the most respected in the country. Since the club's ownership change, investment behind the scenes has grown dramatically. Modern facilities, elite coaching staff, and a clear education plan ensure young players develop both on and off the pitch. In Kenchington's case, the club have arranged for him to study in Newcastle while training full-time with the youth team. It's a thoughtful setup that reflects how the Magpies are combining football ambition with personal care. For supporters, this deal feels symbolic. For decades, Newcastle relied on buying ready-made stars, often without a long-term plan. Now, The focus is shifting to sustainability and identity. Signing one of England's brightest teenage defenders is more than a transfer, it's a statement. It says Newcastle intend to compete with the very best not just in matches, but in scouting, development and vision. Winning the race for Kensington ahead of clubs like Manchester United and Spurs sends a strong message about where the club is heading. It's also refreshing to see Newcastle investing in English youth. While many Premier League sides fill their academies with overseas players, the Magpies are putting faith in homegrown potential. The local connection matters. When a young player grows up in the English system, understands the culture and the intensity of the league, is better prepared to succeed at the highest level. Kensington fits that philosophy perfectly. He's disciplined, grounded and determined to make his mark in black and white. From a tactical perspective, Kensington already displays traits of a modern centre-back. He doesn't just clear the ball. He reads the game, steps out of defence with confidence and builds attacks from the back. His passing accuracy and composure under pressure have drawn comparisons to John Stones, who made a similar journey from Barnsley to the top level. Those who've seen Kensington train say he has the same calm authority, rare for someone so young. If nurtured properly, he could become the backbone of Newcastle's defence in years to come. Financially, £350,000 may sound small compared to Premier League figures, but in youth development terms, it's a significant investment. Clubs only pay such sums when they're absolutely convinced about a player's potential. This isn't just another gamble. It's a calculated move based on months of scouting. The transfer fee also includes performance-related bonuses, meaning Barnsley will benefit if Kensington breaks into the first team. It's a win-win deal that highlights Newcastle's professionalism and long-term thinking. Looking at the bigger picture, the signing represents everything Eddie Howe and the board want Newcastle to become. A club that combines ambition with intelligence, passion with patience. While big names grab headlines, these quiet deals build the foundation for sustained success. Fans love to dream about marquee signings, but sometimes the most important moves happen far from the spotlight. Josh Kensington might not sell shirts today, but in a few years, he could be the one leading the Magpies' defense into a new era of dominance. Eddie Howe is known for his calmness on the touchline, but even he reached his limit after Newcastle's latest disappointment on the South Coast. The Magpies suffered a painful defeat to Brighton, extending their miserable run at the Amex Stadium to 9 Premier League matches without a single win. What angered Howe most wasn't the scoreline, but the manner of the loss. Newcastle had the game within their grasp, only to throw it away through sloppy defending and poor focus. Inside the dressing room, the mood was tense, and Howe's words were sharper than ever. The manager reportedly called the defeat unacceptable and demanded immediate improvement. His frustration was directed at key players who failed to perform when it mattered most. Despite investing over £230 million in talent across the past 2 seasons, Newcastle looked flat, tired and disorganized in crucial moments. Danny Welbeck's brace punished them brutally, exposing gaps in concentration that have haunted the side all season. Howe knows that if Newcastle are to compete for Europe again, such lapses cannot continue. Every mistake now feels amplified. Before the game, Howe had decided to field the same starting 11 that faced international duty just days earlier. It was a decision driven by loyalty, but in hindsight, it may have been costly. Several players appeared fatigued, struggling to keep up with Brighton's sharp tempo. Despite starting brightly and creating a few early openings, Newcastle soon lost control of midfield. The defensive line, usually so reliable under Howe, looked vulnerable to simple through balls. That lack of compactness became the story of the afternoon. Nick Woltemade briefly gave Newcastle hope with a brilliant backheel finish that leveled the score late in the second half. His instinctive touch showed exactly why Howe has trusted him to lead the line since Isaac's departure. But moments later, the defensive frailties returned. Brighton pushed forward, exploiting space between Newcastle centre-backs, and Welbeck struck again. The winning goal came just 6 minutes from time, leaving the Magpies shell-shocked. It wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse that summed up their inconsistency this season. After the final whistle, Howe's body language said it all. Normally composed, he walked straight down the tunnel, avoiding cameras and handshakes. Inside the dressing room, according to sources close to the club, he was ruthless but fair. He didn't single out individuals, but made it clear that effort and concentration levels must rise. He reminded the team that wearing black and white means more than just turning up. It means competing with pride, intensity, and resilience. For a man who rarely raises his voice, this was a rare and deliberate show of authority. Players like Joe Linton, Elanga, and Toon Army were among those who came under scrutiny. Howe had expected leadership from his senior men, but he saw complacency instead. Even Sven Botman, usually dependable, struggled to maintain focus under pressure. Mistakes in positioning and marking cost Newcastle dearly, and Howe's post-match review was said to be brutally honest. His aim wasn't to humiliate but to wake his players up. The Premier League is unforgiving, and he knows that any repeat of such lapses could destroy their European hopes. Despite the disappointment, Howe isn't panicking. He believes this setback can become a turning point if the squad respond correctly. Training sessions this week have been described as intense and competitive, with renewed focus on defensive organization and transition play. Howe and his staff have re-emphasized their core principles: discipline, teamwork, and mental toughness. Mistakes happen, but repeated ones must be eliminated. The manager has also called for unity from supporters, urging them to stay behind the team through this difficult patch. The defeat also reignited debate about squad depth. With Wissa injured and some players returning from international duty exhausted, Newcastle's options looked thin. Howe knows he needs reinforcements in January, but until then, he must find solutions within the current group. The coming fixtures against Aston Villa and Tottenham will test Newcastle's resilience. They must show the grit that defined their rise under Howe, pressing high, defending as a unit, and converting chances clinically. There's no room left for excuses. For the fans who traveled to Brighton, it was another long and painful journey home. Yet, most still applauded the players off the pitch, recognizing the effort even if the quality was lacking. That loyalty means everything to Howe. He later admitted in interviews that the supporters deserve much better, promising an immediate response. His message was simple: we can't accept mediocrity, not at this club, not with these ambitions. Words like that resonate because they reflect Howe's deep understanding of what Newcastle represents. Now, the focus turns to recovery and redemption. Howe's challenge is to restore confidence without letting frustration linger. The players have been reminded that the standards at Newcastle are higher than ever. Every training session, every tackle, every sprint must reflect those expectations. The road ahead remains tough, but Howe has built this team on resilience before, and he'll do it again. Brighton may have exposed weaknesses, but it also reignited a fire inside the Magpies, one that could yet drive them to finish the season stronger than ever. What a rollercoaster of updates for Newcastle United fans this week. From transfer rumours to academy triumphs, every headline shows just how fast the club is evolving under Eddie Howe. Endrick's story proves that patience still matters. His time will come, but maybe not yet. And now that Howe finally has the funds for January, the excitement around St. James Park is real again. Do you think Newcastle should go all in for a new striker? Yes or no? Josh Kenshington's signing, meanwhile, is proof that the club are thinking long-term. Investing in a 15-year-old centre-back shows true ambition and planning. Beating Manchester United and Spurs to his signature feels like a victory in itself. And Eddie Howe's reaction after the Brighton defeat, tough but fair, demonstrates why he's the perfect man to lead this project. Do you agree that Howe was right to be so ruthless with his players? Yes or no? So, what do you think, Toon Army? Should Newcastle chase Endrick in the future, or stay patient? Is Kenshington really the next John Stones? And will the January transfer window finally bring the firepower Howe has been asking for? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters more than ever. You're the heart of this club, and your passion drives every victory. Wait, before you go, check out this breaking video from Newcastle.